All right. So to begin with, Peyote, let's talk about what it is you intend to do with this channel and how it's going to serve the public.
Cool, cool. Yeah. Well, basically, I think a lot of the time we do kind of like a stream of consciousness type of voice call inside of our Telegram channels. And that's sort of how we release a lot of news. And the general public, because we don't record them, I think that the general public doesn't really get access to a lot of that information. And having to schedule something or try to get some airtime on some for some YouTube coverage so that the overall public, right, who may find some of the stuff interesting, can access that information and kind of digest it in a long format, type of way. I think YouTube is great for the long format, kind of situation, right? Like there's tons of things that we're doing right now, right? Like just for instance, for Science DAO, we have a machine learning AI team building out an arbitrage trading bot, that
Mm,
Science DAO holders are able to use. I haven't seen any other projects really doing that. There's another project in the pipeline for Science DAO, right, with Adopter Cell, and Dr. Mo and Dr. Haume, where they're utilizing CAR T cell treatment to cure type 1 diabetes, right? And they have multiple patents for this tech. And it's the craziest thing that, no matter what we do, like the influencer out there, are in not interested, although we've made them hundreds of thousands of dollars, or
sure, sure.
maybe millions. When it comes down to like trying to cure type 1 diabetes or something really interesting like a machine learning project, we can't seem to get any like voluntary, um, coverage, right? So like it's better, I think, just to have you, Ken, because you've been there for us, throughout this whole period of time. Um, like just make a channel and then give the information out there in long format, and then we can maybe pump that information for them, so that just the overall public, like it'd just be good for the overall public to kind of see that what's going on. Because like in our Yasha ecosystem, what people don't realize, even though like our current chart looks kind of bad, you can probably hear my bird out there outside. Even though our current chart like looks, like it's just sitting on the floor and it's gone down since our migration, I think what people don't realize is that like there's been like several, if not many, millionaires minted from this ecosystem, right? Um,
Mm,
just from following our formula, which is isn't that like the whole point, gains? So
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, like if people are looking for gains out there and they're chasing this token and chasing that token, yet like Yasha has been able to produce in excess of 1500x, 150,000% thus far. Just going over historical data. Okay,
Mm,
no promise of any future type situation, but historical data shows over 1500x. And I haven't seen many other projects do that. I think that if like people knew how good the community was and how supportive it was, despite our mistakes or blunders, we're only human beings, right? At the end of the day, we're only human beings. I think if people outside of Telegram kind of knew what we were up to, I think they'd find it pretty interesting, right? And unfortunately, like a lot of the crypto Twitter and the popular YouTube channels and the, whatever it is, article writing and whatnot, controls a lot of the traffic. And so I think the next step in what some of these projects have done really well, like I think Shibnobi did it really well, is I think that they had like a YouTube thing that they would do every week or whatever it was, just to put the info out there and let the people digest it. So good thing to start during the bearish trend here.
absolutely. They did pretty much daily content, and I think I'm inspired by you when we think about the greater idea of not my keys, not my crypto. It's kind of like not my platform, not my content in that same way. Like if you don't get to control the narrative of all the great things that you, like you said, you want to be covered, but maybe some influencers don't find those ideas to be as sexy. So they're not going to cover them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. First and foremost, okay, I am actually pretty unimportant, okay, in the grand scheme of things. There's a huge team here. There's D, there's Z, there's T, there's Guapo. There's so many. There's in each different project. There's so many people working on these things that it's like obviously Boo, like there's so many people working together. Just for whatever reason, I'm the one that talks about everything on the VCs. And so like in that case, sometimes I get the credit. I also get the blame and the responsibility for certain things as well. Sometimes
Sure.
I have no idea that happened, but I'm here, you know. So yeah, whether it's the keys, the crypto, the channel, the content, I don't know. Obviously, there's plenty of people with lots of there's plenty of people with lots of followers, and maybe if we did this during a bull run, right? During a bull run, everybody be like, oh, like where do I get that next launch that's gonna 400x?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like there's so much, man. There's so much. The space is so weird right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So with that, kind of to dovetail on that, let's talk about what updates you have recently. There was a recent launch. Let's talk about that.
The Science DAO launch.
Yeah, I mean, what's been the status of Science DAO since the launch?
Yeah, well, I think the coolest thing, from my perspective about Science DAO is that it's a much slower type of project, right?
Sure.
And I'll give you some updates in what we're doing with Science out here so that people can try to go out there and copy it, like they usually do. Um, uh, so generally, when you look at like equities and whatnot, like a lot of the information that gets released, right, in terms of deliverables or updates or whatnot, are usually released through an official news source, right? And so that way people, okay, they're like, okay, this is the official update. And maybe that comes, once a month, twice a month, quarterly.
Sure.
These are usually the things that people are waiting for. And I think what's interesting about crypto is that, especially in our community, for some reason, like I think we have put ourselves out there and made ourselves very available to the point where people expect, like some update every day, and we can try, but it's not that realistic. Believe me, if I had an update every single day, I would love to. I'm tweeting things out, and we have a ton of different projects in the ecosystem, right? So, like one day I can tweet out a wallet, the next day, like wallet update. Next day I can tweet out a science update. Next day I can tweet out a launchpad update, right? So on and so
Sure.
forth. And so, just circling back to Science now here. My favorite thing is that it's a very grown up project. Whether people get bored with that or not, that's up to them. Okay. Like if they want to be there for the long run because they see what we're doing and who we're working with and what we're trying to accomplish, that's cool. What's been reassuring about it so far is that while, people, whether they pull their initial contribution out or they, whatever it might be, we have like these doctors and PhDs and people that aren't inside of crypto, and our business development director for business development, Steven, has been onboarding people into crypto. And so like a lot of times they're like, oh, like how many ETH should I buy? You know, okay, I'll buy 50. They're like, okay, I'll buy 50 ETH. And then they're like, is that okay? And Steven's like, yeah, 50. And so then like you'll see they buy like a little bit at a time. Like, you know, Steven is, you know, maybe tells them like, hey, maybe don't put it all at once because people will sell off on you, or let's wait to see, like, you know, he can't really give advice. Like we can't really give that kind of advice to people, but it's better, like, you know, to maybe find the floor, find the entry, you know, common sense. And they're sophisticated, you know, people, right, that can figure this out for themselves, right, and come up with their own strategy. They're very smart. And so I think what you've seen is people like accumulate 40, 50 ETH of Science DAO in preparation for years to come, right? Which is like very cool. So meanwhile, you have some people that didn't get the whatever X, you know, immediately, you know, get bored and leave. Obviously, it's bearish. You know what? Their strategy might work very well, right? Because something might 100x, and then the next day another thing might 100x. And so if they like figure out how to scramble through that and figure it out, then that's good. However, we've seen that like statistically it's not, you know, it's not working the right way. So anyway, so long-winded, that's been my favorite experience, watching people from outside of crypto get a perspective in crypto. And Steven has some insane meetings that he's already had and that he has scheduled coming up here for the future with like monstrous investment, like monstrous investment companies. And I think that on the legal side, it's been like D has made major breakthroughs in what we're able to do leading up here for Science DAO. So that's kind of just, I know that's a bit ambiguous. Is that the way?
No. I think it's a great answer, but I do want to follow up and maybe push back a bit because I think this will help clear up some things for some folks. So there's always the long game. We're playing the long game in many of the projects, and especially from the development side, from the team, you're always playing the long game. But as an investor, investors may be playing the short game, and one would argue, well, if I wanted to wait years for a return, or if I wanted, you know, 7, 10, 12% returns, I'd be in the stock market, not in crypto. But you're using this crypto platform in order to do things that typically aren't done in crypto, which I think is a great innovation. So how do you convince people to see the long vision in all that crypto can do in the long term? But obviously the conflict is that they're in crypto for a reason.
Yeah. So I think some of these kind of retired CEOs, right, or industry leaders, or if you look at some of the people that are working in the Science DAO project, they're like extremely high functioning, fast paced, get it done, you know, move fast and figure it out, you know, kind of people. And in the whether it's traditional finance or normal startup corporate type world, there's a lot of I would say like, you know, not like red tape, but bureaucracy, right, and procedure that they've had to deal with. And I think finding crypto and finding how fast paced this is, especially with how like high functioning some of these people are and were in their careers, is really like them coming home. Like they're like, oh my goodness, like this is the place where we could have been working 20 hours a day and contacted anybody in the world and sent payment at any hour of the day for any reason at all.
Sure.
And so I think that has been the most interesting thing for them. And so like long game or not, they are seeing how blockchain can be used, right, to solve some of the problems that they've seen in traditional finance and startups over their careers, right? Being experts. One of them is, for the Science DAO specifically, is when you have a real going concern as a startup, and you have equity and you have different equity rounds, right? How can we put the ownership of these companies like on the blockchain, and how can we track that on paper, pre and post money, pre and post raise valuation? Because obviously the company is, they have a pre-money valuation, they raise money that increases the valuation by however much money they have. How do the people that did like an early angel round in that company, how do they track the X's, right? Like the actual growth of their investment. Whereas we can put it on blockchain and we can track that, and we can make those shares sellable, right? We can make those shares sellable.
Right.
And I think the coolest thing for the Science DAO, right, is filing for exemption with the SEC. And so we're actually able to sell investments, right, is the thing. And I think this is something that you see in like some of the crowdfunding real estate type projects like Fundrise.
Sure.
So this, like the Fundrise, for instance, has like 250,000 investors or something, and they buy like little bits of commercial real estate, right? I found out about this because I'm in commercial real estate, and I'm like looking at Fundrise, and I'm like, this is kind of interesting. And so because we are creating like a closed marketplace that's only available to people that have the Science DAO, and it's like a gate, it's essentially a gateway, right? Like the key is the Theory token. There's some things that we're sort of able to do, like theoretically or in real practice, that we're able to do and offer to people and break that down. And so what it would look like is if you do like an angel investment, okay, first and foremost, sorry for backtracking, what people don't realize is a lot of a lot of people want to be a venture capitalist, right? But like, can they wait 5 to 10 years? They want to say, oh, I'm a VC, but most VCs are waiting for a liquidity event, right? And that liquidity event doesn't come for years in advance.
Right.
And
Right.
so how does somebody who starts something in an angel round, right? How do they potentially, if they want to pull out, how do they pull out? There's buybacks, but generally the company has to go raise money for the buybacks. Whereas within like this Science DAO closed marketplace, they could, theoretically sell out, in some type of order book, sell out of their pre-IPO type position, right? So, and it really depends. Not every single project, coming through the Science DAO is going to be like an investment, right? Quote unquote, or a real company. Some of them might be developments just for the Science DAO, right? Or tools that you're able to use that might be like a little bit strange. And the most value, I think, is the ability to access information. Like if you're an entrepreneur or whatever it might be, there's some very, very interesting people, right, that are involved in this project that you can pretty much ask things. And so while the community made a Telegram chat, community Telegram chat for Theory, we only had an announcement channel and we had a Discord. The people in there can go ask things, and if people don't start submitting scientific business plans for the prize,
Right.
we'll just start funding things that we find interesting, right? So anyway, that was super long-winded, dude. I think I talked for 10 minutes.
Well, Peyote, give another little update about the prize, so for people who are not aware.
Oh yeah,
prize,
so,
yeah.
I think it's like 10 to 25,000 is a prize for the most innovative business plan. It's the community is going to vote on who the winner is. 10 to 25 because maybe there's a couple people maybe a couple business plans that look really good. And so that in addition, maybe they can stick around. Maybe the DAO wants to continue on. Um, yeah. So
Sure. And what do they need to do in order to participate?
they need to find Steven. They need to find if you can't, well, I'll tell you what, if you're a CEO and you're an entrepreneur and the way to get the 25,000 is finding somebody named Steven, okay? And you see this, if you can't find Steven, okay, it's going to be very hard to take it to the next level. Tell you that. Okay.
Got it.
So,
Got it.
yeah.
So what else is happening in the Yasha universe? What do you want to
Well, there's a lot, man. There's a lot. And I think what people are starting to see and probably come to terms with is that like our core team, myself included, whatnot, like we are truly not like the core team for every single project that comes out of the Yasha launchpad,
right?
right? Like it's impossible. It's we can help. I think when people see us involved, maybe to a greater degree in some project over the other, there's gaps that we're trying to fill in, right? And so we're trying, like we're like, it's not like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like we're like trying to direct. It's like, no, like there's a gap here. You know what I mean? And so like we go in and we try to fill the gap. And if that means like talking on the VC, trying to work out things with the community, whatever it might be, that's what we feel in the moment is something that might help. So we're trying to be helpful, right? So that's a good update that I think people are coming to terms with now. That every project pretty much has its own team. There's some projects that we have like adopted, and our core team is now like officially running. Like Neko, we had stealth launched that for a friend, right? And now it has evolved into maybe the most amazing community in crypto. I mean, every single, it's crazy. It's like our tech support in our Telegram channel is what we call them. They're all like senior level developers and IT people. There's like 40 of them, and I'm pretty sure they have good jobs. They have good jobs, but they want to come into the Telegram. These are like, not young, not
Right.
that they're old, but they're not like 15, like just posting stickers and gifts and whatnot, with the MetaMask wall. They're
Highly
good.
qualified professionals. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of, yeah. So that's been really, really fun. And that's an example of a project that like we felt like we made like maybe just stealth launching something without like any pre you know we could have just put it on our friend that wanted to launch it and been like, hey, this is you, everybody, this is him, whatever happens, good luck. It's not if we see that something can be like made right, we try to make it right, or try hard. And now it's become like, I think D and Z's favorite project, and maybe the project that they spend the most time on, because the community is extremely supportive. They all have like more mature perspective on the time frames. And then there's specific deliverables that are attainable, right? And that we can follow a timeline, and people aren't wondering, like nobody's wondering like, oh, why didn't we make this like cell phone level hardware wallet? Why is it not done like next week?
Right.
Obviously, it takes time. So yeah.
So what's the most kind of frequent question that you get as you go in and out of the VCs on Telegram, besides Wind Moon?
What's happening with this?
Yeah.
It's like I think a lot of times people can go into the telegrams and ask, and instead they find the need to DM directly. I probably shouldn't do any DMs directly, honestly. And I think what you found and what you ran into, and I'm sorry, dude, like it's actually not my intent. It's not my intention at all. It says in the bio, like contact Jess for scheduling, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because like I get like 100 DMs and then I have no idea. So like a lot of times, like this 11 a.m. one here, she's like, "Hey, you got something in 5 minutes?" And I'm like, "Okay," like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And she'll tell me in advance whenever it's scheduled and then leading up. But yeah, she like otherwise it's very difficult.
A lot on
Yeah,
your plate. We get it. You gotta, heavy shoulders.
yeah,
But it's overall good. It seems like you have a method and a team. It starts at the top. We like to think about these projects as totally kind of decentralized, and I think maybe what goes against that is we see you and we say, oh, well, we can get every answer there is because Peyote's here, right? And you're kind of like, I can't always be expected to answer for every detail of every project as if I'm, as entrenched in each one day by day, and that's just not the case, right? And so it gets to be quite a bit, but it nonetheless, we see you, even though I know, because we've had this conversation, even I see you still as the face. Like if you show up, I feel like I should be able to ask a question. You should be able to give me an answer. I know it's not real. I know it's not realistic. So hopefully,
yeah, dude.
hopefully now everyone knows that's not realistic, and we will treat Peyote better.
Yeah, yeah. There's that. That's probably impossible.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can try, and I hope that it's unfortunate. I was yeah. Anyway, yeah. it's
We'll leave that there, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. But yeah, I mean so that's like one update. I think like Neko always has its updates. Guzzler has been really like bringing it was a little bit put on the wayside, especially as people focused on Cliff, right? And because it's like the most holders, biggest market cap, whatnot, and Guzzler that came before it. There's people that are only interested in GameFi and maybe not a dog token or whatever a meme token was going to evolve to be.
Right.
And Farouk, the guy in charge of all the development for Guzzler is like he's a young man. He's extremely smart, and he gosh, I mean, like we're just happy and thrilled that we're able to like support him in his journey because he's extremely smart. And so like not only the car racing game that he's been building, which has like a totally new API for NFT and Web3 integration that is like gasless, right? Within game and all this crazy stuff. And you see like other games and they utilize layer 2s, they utilize other things. Like Guzzler is really building it from scratch, which is pretty interesting. Although there's like turnkey types of solutions out there, Guzzler's it's really cool what he's up to. And so like we've been building out this game hub recently with a bunch of games that he's built in the past, and he's integrating Web3 into them to try to make it fun, try to give some use case for some of the dust tokens or just stuff that isn't worth very much anymore out there, being able to use that for the games as well. So giving use cases to like dead tokens, you know what I mean? It's just pretty cool. And then obviously he's been building out the MVP for the poker platform as well, which is awesome because he's just such a stud. Like I don't have Like he's so good. Never in my experience, okay, and maybe there's some other projects out there like this that I haven't been a part of or haven't seen or whatnot. And the my goodness, it, I've never been part of a project, especially a gaming project, where the community are the beta testers, and somebody's like, "Hey, what can we put this car in the game?" And Farouk is like, "Yeah," and he gets Will, the 3D artist for the cars, to make the car, wrap it, um, and then Farouk puts it in the game, and then like within a day or two, Farouk's like, "Hey, push the new update for the game. You guys can play that car." You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so interactive with the community. It's been super cool. So really different. So really cool GameFi project. If GameFi is people's cup of tea, um, obviously, like there's a ways to go with everything, but it's cool. There's we for those that don't know, like within Yasha, and I know that there's game projects out there and tokens and whatnot. Like Farouk has like a team of like 10 people, maybe like
Mm.
maybe
Hmm.
more, I think, including environment artists and 3D artists and whatnot. So he has a large team. And then
Hmm.
we have MCO as well, the architect, the 3D environment artist for for all of our 3D NFTs, whether it's like Docty and AG, the Pochi project, and making those NFTs, integrating them into the Yashaverse. MCO has his own team of like 10 people. And so there's probably like 20 game developers
Wow.
internally that can
Yeah.
just build things. And that might not seem crazy to if you're like a major game developer out there and you have 100 or 150 game developers on your team, and
Right.
you guys build like Grand Theft Auto or something, it might not seem that cool. But for us, we're like very small group of people, especially in a DAO structure where everybody's essentially volunteering to work. You have a team, you have teams that can do almost anything, right? Which is
Hmm. Hmm.
so,
Well, from the community perspective, I always like to kind of tie us into why people should care, because you say things and sometimes it may just kind of go a little bit beyond people's understanding of why they should uh, care about the details that you're pointing out. So one of the things you say and you've continued to say is that that there's things that are happening under Yasha that are proprietary developments. In other words, it could be easier to just copy and fork things here and there, but what's being worked on here is the actual hard work development, some things from scratch, some of the things with kind of added twists. Why is that important to the projects?
Oh, well, maybe we see something that can be like better, whether maybe it's not better. You never know unless you try. Um,
Yeah,
and isn't that the point? Like you have a thought,
yeah,
go
absolutely.
down one day, you start on something, the next day something a little bit more is built, and so forth. And that's sort of like the idea is that my belief, I suppose, that
Mhm.
somewhere out there in you know that space-time continuum or whatever, that completion already exists in a way, and we're
Mhm.
just taking the steps to get there. I mean, obviously if you make different choices, it will not maybe that moment will be fleeting and will not ever come to fruition, right? But um that's just how I feel that you can, yeah. So um there's some stuff, don't get me wrong, like there's other things, like there's other web3 APIs that Farouk finds super useful, and he might have been like going down a path, like him and Z might have been going down a path where they're building something, and then they're like, oh, this guy does this already, like we don't need to, and it's good news, you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
Oh, we
Mhm.
don't have to build this, it exists already, and then they can plug it in and figure out how to make it work. But
Yeah.
yeah, like his game hub coming up, it's much faster development than a full-on car racing game, and it can just demonstrate his ability. A lot of people have been waiting for a car racing game, waiting for car racing game. We've had tournaments. We've had
Right.
tournaments this whole time since day 3 or so. People have been able to play a super like pre-alpha version of the car racing game, and then a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. But it'll be faster for him to demonstrate his Web3 integration type capabilities in games using this game hub. So I don't know. I
Yeah, it's
wonder.
really awesome.
I wonder what it like looks like sometimes. Can't like because I just jump and jump and jump and ramble, and somebody's probably like, "What the?"
That's all right. That this way they can stop, pause, rewind,
Cool.
and play again. It'd be great.
All right. That'd be good.
Anything else for the week?
Well, I think that our beta testing for the Neko project will be coming up here pretty soon, and so we have a whole community of beta testers, which is very exciting. Our staking contract got back from Solidity Finance. Got audited for Neko, so they should be able to be staking coming up here very shortly. The Yasha staking contract was sent off for auditing, so Yasha staking should be coming up here pretty shortly, and there's so much development. There's so much, like we could go, like I don't know if I even have a list, but the World Peace Token pause has had major developments in the care drop platform, which is very cool. We've been seeing some big buys. That chart went up, it went down, it just sat around for a little bit the whole time. The community project, the whole time, the people that set out to develop on the project have been continuing to work, right? Which is really cool. And so there's some people accumulating a lot of supply. It's a very bullish project, in my opinion. But do your own research. Not financial advice. Not safe. I don't know.
Don't sue us, bro.
Like I'm like, it's crazy when you're just trying to like build things, and man, like people cannot take responsibility for their own decisions and actions, dude. Like they need somebody to just like smash and take their frustrations out on. And
Absolutely.
Here I am, easy target. I don't know why either, man. Like we really try to help. We really try to help people and try to make the space better. And whether people think that or not, but a lot of times you're getting judged by people that are just mad that they didn't make more.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Yeah, it's a greedy game. You often point out it's a zero-sum game, so it's like,
oh man,
when you're losing out, or the perception of losing out sucks.
Yeah.
Period.
It does. There's the amount of anxiety and stress that some people have to go through. There goes my bird again. The amount of stress and anxiety, yeah, dude. People in this space, man, it's like you're in a frantic state of chasing sometimes, and I don't know what people expect. Like, how many people are there because they actually like the project, right? It's like, I don't know, people. Yeah,
it's hard to tell, because for me as an investor, I don't have to like the project. I don't have to agree or like a project at all.
Does it really work? Volume and candles.
Yeah. And then there's some that I like and maybe overlove, and stick around too long because I'm making it emotional, and I shouldn't be. So I however a person decides to invest their resources, their business, but I just tell you, I try to separate my feelings from the chart, and I don't care. It could be
right
as long as it's ethical. I'll invest. I'll invest in it if I think it can pay off. That's
Right.
me.
Yeah. We bro, it's a tough it's a lot, man. There's so many, there's like idols that are created, right? And then what usually happens is there's big money, right? There's like big money backed projects that create a hype narrative, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And the masses think that hype narrative from big money equals their gains. So that pleasure principle, whatever that you know whatever release that is for them inside, they have now like bound that to a hype narrative from a big money backed project. And so like the way that they've been able to sway the sentiment, right, of the overall space by creating idols and hype narratives, when really like what is their goal? Like generally their goal is to make money, right? And
Sure.
they pull a ton of money out of DeFi. Like like that Yuga Labs mint that we saw, right? It was like 100 over $150 million worth of ETH burned. I don't know if the
Mm,
information that I saw
mm,
was correct, but you're talking about
mm, mm.
like if it's the burn, right, for the transaction fees and gas, plus plus getting into like a maybe a difficult to sell asset or an asset where the velocity of funds is not traveling very fast, right? Eventually, that like these projects that take this much out of DeFi are going to slow down the entire space, and so like the entire bullish upwards trend that everybody was chasing these idols for, right, are actually the cause of slowing down the space and leading to almost no volume, save but just a few projects here and there, right? So it's as opposed to like that's a problem. That's a problem in my opinion. I don't have a perfect perspective, okay? I don't have a perfect mind to see, but that's it seems like it's problematic, because the masses, the little people, they buy into something, and then where does that money go? It goes out of DeFi. It goes into the hands of somebody who's very savvy. And so there's all these strategies that have been created. Um, all strategies created to essentially capitalize on the turbulence that exists inside of DeFi, right? And so it's that's always tough, I think. It's because I mean anybody can create an idol, but have a very specific strategy. Okay, if this many people chase this idol, how can we best capitalize on the amount of turbulence that's created by that, right? And
Sure.
then once we've accomplished the goal, how can we now we get our exit? That's our exit. And so all the people that were like scrambling and in that turbulent environment, are they up? Are they down? Do they have the same money? Do they have a good taste in their mouth? Do they have a bad taste? Like, do they have a good time? Do they have a bad time? Are they more likely to do something like that again? If they won,
Right.
yes. So that's increasing the probability of the people with the strategies to siphon off that money again, because the people that won want to tell their friends about it, right? Like so on and so forth. They want to do it. They want to do it again. Like, hey, I made this much on this shit, you know. And
Yeah.
whereas the people that lost now they're down. Do they want to participate again? Maybe not. How many people lost versus won, right? So it's a weird thing that we see in this the space right now, and so like trying to make it as bottom up as possible, is really the you know would be good. Would be good.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people say they care about DeFi. I think a lot of people care about the money they can make in DeFi, whether that means the system exists after they've made their money or not. Like there's less of a concern about the space beyond what they can get out of it, which is true about a lot of spaces.
Yes, man. It's probably people like us, dude, probably just get chewed up and I don't know. You know what I mean? It's if you're not a shark, if you're a dolphin, you know what I mean? I just how do you do it? I think that you can still do very well and figure it out. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
So that's what I hope. Maybe it's just not the way. Maybe the only thing is selling something, and having people buy it. Maybe that's. But I truly think that there is a better use case for crypto, because I have seen it. I have seen where, like, maybe previously self-serving, people that maybe are driven by greed and gains, they stick around. Even if they make money, they stick around. They try to help one another. They try to be there for one another. Obviously, they're all working on a team. It's like team building, work ethic, so on and so forth. So there's quite a bit. So anyway, that's just some perspective. Is this good for the
podcast
thing?
Yeah. Hey, we're off to a great start, I think, and I just want the public to know, you guys, I will be following up. So if Peyote said we're working on X, working on Y, next time you hear from us, I will be following up with those questions. So if there's an update, I'm not telling you there will be one. If there is one, I will ask him about it. So if you want to know if there's an update, just listen to the podcast and you will know.
Cool.
Final words?
Yeah. I think, guys, we're gonna try to do this like every week, twice a week. I don't know, whatever we can squeeze out of Ken here, because we do want to put out like official, whether it's just chit chat or actual updates and whatnot. We want to put it out in a long format, because I think the people that appreciate the long format will be the people that will appreciate what we're doing, if that makes sense.
For sure.
Obviously, the people that like the short format, or here's an ad, here's a cat, whatever it is, like those people will appreciate our launches, because our launches are crazy. But the people that like the long format, and might like or agree or whatever, or have something they want to say, might like our ecosystem from this type of format. So we plan on continuing to do this. So
yeah, and if we can get the traction, perhaps we can do some live stuff in the near future.
How many do we have to get to?
Technically, we could do it now. It's usually those counts are about monetization and other things. With this kind of software, we can work around it. We can go live tomorrow if you wanted to.
Oh wow, cool. Well, we can tweet it out and put it in all the channels and have people. You're gonna have some good comments. You're gonna have some crazy comments, dude. Like, the world is nuts, and everybody is hidden in anon. You know what I mean? There's not much you can do. And some people get hurt by some things, and some people win. You're always gonna have a big mix. But yeah, hey guys, let's do it. Yeah.
Take care, guys. Peyote, hold on.
Okay.